It's showtime at Homestead, Miami.
Andre Baranowskis at the line, steals it in the Indy 250.
Look at the back, in trouble, let it go. Gordon to the wall, jumps right around.
Side by side on the final lap, coming to the checkered flag.
Steve Morgan, the last lap pass, and the victory in Las Vegas.
Welcome to the NOFSRL.
Down the wall, back in there, a massive accident. Oh, and the wall hard. Nathan Payton and Madison Toll. Oh, he's coming down. He's coming down the pit lane. Indianapolis. This hallowed ground owes you nothing. From the fast speeds to the even faster wrecks and everything else in between. To win this race needs more than any other. Today, 33 drivers accept the challenge of racing 100 laps at over 220 miles per hour. But in order to be a champion, first, they must survive. The 2020 NOFSRL Indianapolis 250 begins now. Hello everybody, this is Napa Fan here, and the time has finally arrived for the biggest race on Napa Fan. This is the 2020 NOFSRL Indianapolis 250. We are here at the greatest racetrack in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, for the opening event of the 2020 Haas IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis 250. 33 drivers come to this hallowed ground of Indianapolis to race 100 laps for the biggest race trophy on Napa Fan. And it is going to be an intense race like it is every single year. And it is never over until it is over. Obviously, last year's race told us that story very well when Jonathan King came down the pit lane on the final lap, leading to Audra Baranowskis' biggest win of her career. I'm joined alongside a couple of co-commentators this year. I'm joined alongside Trey Wright, who has done many races with me before, but I'm also joined alongside one of my longtime friends, and for the first time ever, he's going to be calling a race with us in the biggest race on Napa Fan. Micah Knapp alongside me, and I've known him longer than pretty much anybody else. But Micah, this is a huge race. The speeds are going to be really fast. It's the biggest race of the year. What is going through the minds of these 33 drivers as they sit on the starting grid for this Indianapolis 250?
Well, the logistical side of me says they're thinking, run your race, race the racetrack. But I know a lot of these guys are probably thinking, oh my God, we're about to go green. So many thoughts rushing through their head right now. And that's the worst, because when you're racing, you're really not supposed to be thinking all that much.
It's going to be interesting to see how these guys take to this race, because it's 100 laps, and that first lap is always a very nerve-wracking lap. But lots of times this race gets a rhythm. Sometimes we can have long green flag runs, sometimes we can have short green flag runs. We never know what's going to happen in this event. And Trey, pit strategy is also going to be a huge factor in today's event. Obviously, it was a huge factor last year, but this year they have bigger fuel cells, which means they're not going to have to pit as much as they did last year. So with that in mind, how is that going to affect the strategy in this race here in this 100-lap event?
I'll definitely adjust the strategy plan to the crew chiefs had from last year. Obviously, last year we saw with Audra Baranowska stealing it on the final lap as the current leader of that race, went down because they ran out of fuel. But like you said, the bigger fuel cells, that's going to adjust the strategy. But we could see some cars try and short pit and not use it to their full potential. We're going to see a whole array of strategies if this race goes green, which, judging by some of these guys in practice sessions, I think we're going to have quite the wild race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And we've had so many wild ones here in the past, and only for the second time ever are we opening the season up with this event. The last time we did that was 4 years ago in the 2016 edition of the event, and Aaron Walpole won that race. There are 3 defending Indianapolis 250 champions in the field here today. The 2017 winner of Luke Rainey driving the number 1 machine for King Motorsports. The number 9 of Nicholas Samedeo, the winner of the 2018 edition of this race driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. And Audra Baranowskis, last year's defending Indy 250 champion, driving for Andretti Autosport. Driving for the same team that Jonathan King drove for last year when King had to come down the pit lane on the final lap. You may see that 28th there starting in the 4th position. Unfortunately, Jonathan King is not in this year's edition of the race, but a longtime returning veteran to the Haas IndyCar Series, Matt Tuck, takes over that ride, hoping for a better result. We have ourselves 33 drivers in the field today, and if you were not with us last weekend, well, we had to send 3 drivers home. Unfortunately, 3 full-time drivers failed to make this race. Number 18 of Josh King, the number 20, or should I say number 37 of Mason Brown, and the number 59 of Christian Master. Master, the 2015 winner of this event, unfortunately failing to qualify. However, for the other 33 full-time drivers, or should I say the other 33 drivers, because not all of them are full-time, they are in the race, and any of them can win it here today. Like I mentioned, we have full-time drivers and Indy 250 only drivers. 27 of these drivers are full-time Haas IndyCar Series drivers who will be going for the championship throughout the summer. The other 6, this is their only race of the year in the Haas IndyCar Series. They include the number 60 of Brandon Nelson, the number 63 of Jesse Turner, the number 66 of Zach Winkle, the number 77 of Ryan Durrani, the number 81 of Ace Garcia, and the number 88 of Mitchell Henderson. Turner and Garcia have both raced in this race before. The other 4 is their first ever attempt in a Haas IndyCar Series race, and it's coming in the biggest race of the year. With all of that out of the way, we don't have any points to announce with the exception of the top 10 drivers qualifying in this race receiving points from qualifying. This is the first race of the season, so the season starts now. However, it is important to realize that this is not a double points race like it is in real life. It is a single points race, and the winner will receive 50 points towards the Haas IndyCar Series Championship. Every race this season in the Haas IndyCar Series awards 50 points for the race victory. You get a bonus point for leading a lap and 2 extra bonus points for leading the most laps, and the pole sitter for normal Haas IndyCar Series events will receive 1 point towards the championship. However, like I mentioned, with this being the Indianapolis 250, the top 10 qualifiers all receive championship points for their starting positions. We're ready to get these guys to roll off here in the biggest race of the season, and it's a big day for the driver starting on the pole position. Garrett Sydnor, who has not made an Napa Fan start since last August. He has been stuck at 19 career Napa Fan wins since November of 2017. Today could be a huge day if he goes to victory lane. We will have to see fastest in the Fast 9 shootout last Sunday, starting alongside the number 17 of Thomas Trotzel in his second Indianapolis 250, John Andrews and Matt Tuck. Andrews in his third Indy 250, Matt Tuck also in his third, driving the number 28. Owen Miles, rookie to the Haas IndyCar Series in his first ever Indianapolis 250, will be starting alongside Haas IndyCar Series veteran Marty Johnson in the number 75. This is Johnson's fourth Indianapolis 250. 2018 winner of this event, Nicholas Samedeo, starts in the 7th position, his 6th Indianapolis 250 more than any other driver in the field. He is alongside Jesse Turner, an Indy 250 only driver, making his 4th start in this great race. Last year's champion Audra Baranowski starting in the 9th position for Andretti Autosport. This is her 4th Indianapolis 250, and alongside her, the number 12 of Igor Barreto driving for King Motorsports in his 3rd edition of this great race. Everybody is rolling off. Next time by, it's the green flag in the Indianapolis 250, but before we give the green flag, let's see who wins this race. Micah, who do you think will be going to victory lane in this year's Indianapolis 250?
Well, I think with this package, unlike the old Aero kits, track position is definitely a must-have. So I think the front row, Garrett Sydnor, I think he's got the best shot, to be honest with you.
I'm gonna go a little bit wild, and I'm gonna say Audra Baranowski. She came in the absolute clutch last season, scoring the victory at the last moment. I think since she has been bad fast all week, she's gonna come out on top and win this thing.
2 very good picks. So many other drivers in this race who are just as strong as they are, who could come home with the race victory. But right now, the focus is on the first lap of the event. These guys have waited 9 long months to get back in the Indy cars, but now they're ready to take the green flag in the biggest race of the season. The 2020 Indianapolis 250 is green from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The number 19 of Garrett Sydnor will lead lap 1 in the 2020 Indy 250. John Andrews going for 2nd on Thomas Truxell. Owen Miles in the 4th position. And Matt Tuck rounds out the top 5. But a very clean start to this race here on lap 1.
Indeed, as we almost saw contact there with the couple of guys in the back. Sydnor just continues to lead this train as we have some single file racing in the back. Here comes the number 9 of Sam Adio, Mr.
Number 10
Edge.
of John Andrews actually to the inside. Sam Adio's teammate. And that Chip Ganassi Racing team has 2 very strong drivers. Let me tell you that. John Andrews and Nicholas Samadio both double-digit wins on Napa Fan. Samadio not too far behind there, running in the 6th position right now. But to the inside, John Andrews for the race lead on Garrett Sydnor here at Indianapolis.
Meanwhile, back down there in that 3rd row, that 88 car, not leaving very much room between his front wing and the back tires of that number 9.
Mitchell Henderson, his first ever Indianapolis 250, has made starts in the CSX Indy Light Series of the past, but he's right behind Nicholas Samadio, the 2018 winner of this event, running inside the top 5. Matt Tuck in the number 28, going to the inside of John Andrews for the race lead. And now, here comes Mr. Edge in the number 9 to the inside, but Matt Tuck will lead lap number 3 in the Indianapolis 250.
Early stages in the race, tire wear is going to be a non-factor as there's so much grip on the track, and we're going to have to see as these guys flash by at 240 miles an hour. If they go 3 wide, all bets are off, and we could see a huge wreck as we've seen in the past.
They're not exactly going that fast here. About 220 miles per hour, the top speed. It is a hot day. The sun is beating on the racetrack. The grip isn't as much as it is when there are clouds on the racetrack, so that definitely is going to play into how this race plays out. But Mitchell Henderson, how about this driver? An Indianapolis 250 only driver who's full-time over in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series, relatively new to Napa Fan, is going to lead a lap in the Indianapolis 250. The development driver to Stuart Gratton, to the point here at Indianapolis.
And you can see they're nearly side-by-side for the race lead, it looks like.
Owen Miles to the inside for American Autosport. And Owen Miles definitely surprised us during the first day of qualifications. The only rookie to make it into the Fast 9 shootout. And already looking very strong in the biggest race of his life here on Napa Fan. But here comes Nicholas Samadio and Garrett Sydnor back to the inside lane. we might see a lot of passing here today, as it seems to be that inside lane isn't sticking as well as it did last year. But Owen Miles will get a lap led on lap 5 of the Indy 250. Here comes Sam Adio to the inside for the top position.
Miles just barely edged out Mr. Edge, but here comes Sam Adio to the top position. But don't look now, he's got competition to his inside.
Garrett Sydnor, number 19.
Sorry. Looked like Sam Adio washed up there a little bit, opened up the door for Sydnor.
You got to be careful not to go 3 wide here in Indianapolis. I've seen them almost peek out to do it a couple times, so thankfully it's yet to happen. Here comes Jordan Lopez and the number 14 for AJ Foyt Racing. Lopez has driven this number 14 full-time in the Haas IndyCar Series since 2017, yet he has never won a race in this series before. Could today be the day for the veteran driver? We'll have to see. Garrett Sydnor is going to lead lap number 5 here, and lap number 6, I should say, at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Igor Bretto also up here in the number 12 machine. And Michael, we're seeing a lot of side-by-side racing right now. Do you think at any point in this race they're going to fan it down to single file?
To be honest, I think as the laps tick down here, it's probably just going to get even more intense.
Here comes Igor Beretta to the inside for the race lead. They're more bunched up now than they were a couple laps ago, and it is a full cycle right now. A lot like the Indianapolis 250s of the past. Jordan Lopez on the outside lane of Igor Beretta for that top position. They were dead even after line. I believe Lopez got the advantage. Here comes a first-time driver to Napa fan, Chase Harris in the number 79 for Otter Island Motorsports, making his first career Napa fan start here today in this great race. And he is doing an excellent job right now, up to the 2nd position here on lap 8 of 100.
And how about that in the 2nd position in his first ever Napa fan start? But here comes the, actually no, that is the 5 of Dale Lightning. Lightning trying to overtake the 79. And there's a 3-car breakaway as they head down the front straightaway. Meanwhile, a freight train behind them.
Jesse Turner to the inside of Jordan Lopez for the 4th position. Andrew Miller has moved his way through the field in the number 48 as well. And John Andrews back in the inside lane too. A lot of these guys cycling their way to the front and falling back. But if you can find your way back to the inside lane, you're going to have a good day. But meanwhile, Igor Beretta having a great day. Currently leading here in the Indianapolis 250 on lap 9 of 100. And he's got a considerable gap between him and 2nd place Dale Lightning in his first ever Indianapolis 250 start. Been a pretty good week there for Dale Lightning and those Schmidt-Peterson guys. And Mike, I know you drove this car last year and you failed to qualify. But you got to admit, it's good to see this car run pretty well here today at the Indianapolis 250.
Yeah, definitely a good thing to see. And last year, that was completely and totally my fault. That team's very capable, and clearly they've got a very fast race car underneath them today.
Jesse Turner is 3rd. Chase Harris, Andrew Miller, John Andrews. That is the top 6 right now. Garrett Sydnor looking to clear Thomas Trotzel. He will do so. And now they're starting to fan it back down single file up front here in the Indianapolis 250. But in the back of the field, they are still double wide. Got some first-timers back in here. Francois Chastain in the 62. Cole Speed in the 4. And this is a huge test for those drivers. Their first ever start on Napa Fan, and it's in the Indianapolis 250. We'll have to see what they can do as this day goes on. But it's a long day here in Indianapolis. Only a 10th of the way through the 2020 edition of the Indianapolis 250.
As you mentioned, this is a 100-lap race, literally 250 miles, the longest race on Napa Fan. So this is definitely going to be a race of attrition and endurance for many of these drivers. And I noticed as we were in the back, Matt Tuck, he got trapped on the outside lane. He's fallen all the way back, even outside the top 20. So even though it is a long race, he's still got a lot of ground to make up.
Not only that, his teammate Audra Baranowskis is currently running in the 32nd position. But like I mentioned, it is still early on in this race, and with this pack of cars, you're right with the race leaders essentially. Even though you're all the way at the back of the field, everybody still has that equal shot at winning this race. Andrew Miller going up to the 3rd position. They're going to push Dale Lightning out of the way. Here comes Sydnor leading to the inside of Lightning for the 6th position.
And I'd be willing to bet that 27 could just be back there on strategy. You know, you got this big pack of cars. Wrecks can happen early on, so maybe he's just trying to wait it out, wait for the field to start to thin out.
Yeah, Audra Baranowska, she had such a good run last year, and she was up front during that whole race last year as well, so it wasn't really a luck win for her because she ran up front in that race. But Audrey Bernauskis definitely would love to be the first driver to win 2 Indianapolis 250s here today. Of course, Luke Rainey and Nicholas Amadeo would also love to have that honor today as well. Luke Rainey really haven't talked too much about the 2017 Haas IndyCar Series champion that much this week here during the Indianapolis 250 week from Indianapolis. Starting to lose my train of thought, but it's bound to happen in a long race like this. But either way, Luke Rainey currently 14th. Solid run there for King Motorsports. Nikolai Sykes, the owner of this team. Of course, their other driver, Igor Bretta, leads this field, but how about this guy? Andrew Miller is pulling his way through the field, and the number 48 for Zidell Motorsports has already won twice over in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series this year, but looking very strong right now early on in the Indy 250.
Speaking of trains, virtually the entire field, apart from a couple people in the back and the front, they have gotten single file, so it's a lot less crazy as it was in the first 10 laps. But it could get crazy. We see a couple of those guys condensing in the back. As Chase Harris, he's going to draft off these 2 leaders going side by side. He's going to try and overtake them going into 3.
Of course, one thing you do not want to do here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is go 3 wide. We've seen it happen in many editions of this race before. And pretty much every single time they do it, a massive wreck happens. We're going to have to see if we get any cautions early on in this race. The first caution that came out last year was around lap 19. We're only 4 laps away from that, but we'll have to see. These guys are solid drivers, a very experienced field, but that doesn't matter for Chase Harris, who's going to the point in his first ever Napa fan start to the inside of Andrew Miller for the top position.
Yeah, John Andrews gave him a nice shot going down that backstretch. Heading into 3, he's going to peek to the inside.
And Andrews not wasting any time, getting back to the race lead here at Indianapolis. This is his 3rd Indianapolis 250, and of course John Andrews has been racing on Napa fan longer than most people. To the inside of Chase Harris, not going to lead the lap. Harris will get a bonus point towards the championship. But that is not what these guys are focused on right now. They're focused on having the race car to win this race. And now we're back to the cycle. Dale Lightning looking to the inside of John Andrews for the race lead. First time we have seen this driver, Mitchell Collins, for Hair Gel Autosport. Their other driver, Mason Brown, failed to qualify. Collins is carrying this team here today. And Hair Gel is probably very proud about what Mitchell Collins has been able to do here in this one so far. But look at what John Andrews did. Pulled out on the outside lane, and he's starting to really pull away from the field here. But I think Dale Lightning lost a ton of grip there on the inside lane, and now we're seeing these tires start to wear out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Indeed, when the tires wear out, they start to transition up to the top side. As Dale Lightning, he lost a lot of momentum as he had to get out of the gas in the middle of 3 and 4, and that allowed John Andrews to pull away, but he's not going to pull away too much as the draft is extremely effective here. Here comes Justin Zidell. He's going to get a draft off of Collins. They're going to go side by side going through turn 3.
That outside lane starting to pick up there off the exit of turn number 3 now, and that means that passing is going to get a little bit harder, and John Andrews is currently the race leader. But you mentioned Justin Zidell, our defending Haas IndyCar Series champion. He won the championship last year in the series without even winning a race. He'd love to start off the season with a race victory there for his own team there, but he's falling back on the outside now. Here comes Mitchell Henderson for 3rd and for the race lead. Mitchell Collins gonna make it look easy on John Andrews.
Yeah, we've got a train of Mitchells out front now, and it looks like Andrews might get freight trained here into turn 3.
Henderson looking to the inside. Andrews with a crossover back to the inside of Mitchell Collins. Some great stuff here up front. Nicholas Amadeo coming up front as well. John Andrews' teammate there, who's won this race before. And they're side by side on lap 18 in the Indy 250. Collins is going to lead a lap here early on in the event. Oh, here we go! Owen Miles almost peeked to the inside 3 wide, but they kept it together. Owen Miles with a great run right now. He's found his way back to the front 3. Behind Sam Adio, currently in the 3rd position. Garrett Sydnor as well has found his way back inside the top 5. And Mitchell Collins trying to work the outside on defending champion Justin Zidell. You know, when these tires wear out, that might actually give way to somebody going 3 wide a little bit more likely than when the tires are not worn. So we'll have to see how these drivers maneuver the tire wear that they are currently experiencing.
And Mitchell Collins, he had to get way out of the gas going into turn 1 there, and he's going to fall outside the top 5, getting overtaken by the 24 Zidell. Tough break for him, but still, it's a long race, so he can catch back up. Owen Miles trying to go to the inside of John Andrews. Andrews shuts the door.
Owen Miles now up to the second position. Garrett Sydnor is third. Nicholas Amadeo is fourth. And Justin Zidell, who was in a tussle there with Mitchell Collins, now up to the fifth position. Dale Lightning trying to find his way back to the front. Here comes a couple of guys we've yet to see up front in this race. Francois Chastain, his first career Napa Fam start. And Tristan Allen in the number 39. Long-time Napa Fan veteran in his second Indy 250. He's starting to work his way on the inside lane for Hamill Autosport. Thomas Lipscomb as well in his first ever Napa Fan start. They're working their way towards the front here in the Indianapolis 250. As for the race lead, Garrett Sydnor takes it back away from John Andrews. Now, Micah, Garrett seems to have a very strong car. He's got him to the front a couple of times here. I know you picked him to win this race. Do you truly think he has the strongest car so far in this race?
I believe so. It looks like he's grabbed the lead more times.
Oh, we got
than
3
anyone else
wide.
so far.
Oh, nearly got
Lightning
hooked right
almost forced it, but they're gonna fan it back down. My apologies there for interrupting, but that is a massive moment when it comes to the Indianapolis 250. Do you not want to go 3 wide here? My goodness.
Yeah, they all sort of compress as they get off of that corner because of the momentum carries them up to the high side. And when you get 2 or 3 cars that close together, it almost never ends well.
Nicholas Amadeo and Garrett Sydnor for the race lead.
Sorry, especially when they get 3 wide in the short chute between the turns. If they wreck there, they shoot back up the racetrack and collect the entire field. We've seen that multiple times as Chastain nearly gets in the back bumper of Dale Lightning. And Sydnor is going to go to the outside, but Samadeo is going to follow with him. So a 2-car breakaway here, coming to lap complete 22 of 100. Excuse me.
Garrett Sydnor holding on very strong in the number 19 right now. Nicholas Amadeo is second. Dale Lightning, great run for him so far today. He's been up front a lot in this race. How about Francois Chastain inside the top 5? And then you got Tristan Allen for the race lead. Amadeo on Garrett Sydnor. I'm really looking as they enter turn number 3. They're starting to really lose it on the inside, and that opens the door for the guy behind them. They got to be careful not to get caught up in an accident, because that might take out a lot of guys. The accidents we see in this race are some of the most wild we see in any race on Napa Fam. And you simply do not want to get caught up in one of those, because odds are you will not be able to continue if you do. Samadeo to the race lead, lap 23 in the Indy 250.
Yeah, if you get caught up in one of those crashes, you have such little time to react because you are going 220, 225 miles an hour. And when these cars are bunched up like this, there's not a lot of time to react and get out of the way.
They've done a good job so far here today. But we're still early on here in this great race. Samadeo gonna get passed by Sydnor once again. And they're starting to do some crossovers up front. Sydnor, you can't keep him from the top position here today. Of course, like I mentioned, 19 career Napa Fan wins. He has yet to win a race in 2.5 years. It's been since November of 2017. But looking for number 20 of his career, put him second all-time, just one behind John Arndt. And wouldn't it be something if number 20 came here today in the biggest race on Napa Fan?
It would be, but he's going to have to fend off Francois Chastain. First race on Napa Fan, if I'm not mistaken. First Indy 500, no less, and he's got a drafting partner of Nicholas Samadeo behind him, along with Igor Barreto, and that 3-car train in the front is going to easily overtake, Tristan
Allen there moving his way. He's up into the 3rd position. Samadeo is going to push Chastain to the race lead, and Francois Chastain's going to lead the first ever lap of his career, quarter of the way through the Indy 250 here in Indianapolis.
And those 2 Ganassi cars got split up. It looked like they were trying to work together. They were doing a pretty good job, but as you can see, that number 9 lost that inside lane. And now those Ganassi teammates are going to go side by side down the backstretch.
John Andrews has found his way back to the front, up to the 3rd position now, as he will surpass Nicholas Samadeo. Dale Lightning and Thomas Troxel, we've yet to really see him up front. He started on the outside pole for this race, but this is the first time we've seen him run up front here today in the Indy 250. Great run right now for Troxel, but for the race lead, Tristan Allen to the inside of Francois Chastain. Chastain's going to lead 2 in a row here in Indianapolis.
Tristan Allen, one of the most asserted veterans on the Napa Fan circuit. He's going to go to the inside. He's going to overtake Chastain, and Dale Lightning cycles back to the front. I think Dale Lightning has one of the strongest and most consistent cars in this pack. he's going to overtake Chastain for the second place.
So Dale Lightning moving up to the second position. We've seen a lot of Lightning up front here today. Thomas Troxel is there. And Lightning's teammate Thomas Lipscomb has found his way inside the top 5 as well. First time we've seen this driver, Max Anderson in the number 3. He's an IndyCar veteran in his third Indianapolis 250. Did not race in this event last year, but great to see him back driving for Smith Motorsports and Trey Smith, the owner of this race team. Just inside the top 5 right now, trying to hold that outside lane with Miller and Henderson behind him, battling for 10th. It's really intense in the middle part of this pack. And at any point in time, if any of these guys go 3 wide, we could see a caution. But I will say, in the 2016 edition of this event, we went the first 61 laps without a caution. Very possible that could happen here today. You never know what could happen in any of these Indianapolis 250s, and it's anybody's race here today when it comes to this draft. Tristan Allen, who started 28th in this race, was in the last 9 shootout last Sunday, is now your race leader.
Yeah, and those Schmidt-Peterson teammates running 2 and 3, look for them to try and maybe get around Allen, working together down the back straightaway. And one person I'm quite impressed with is that number 60 car of Brandon Nelson. Toward the beginning of this race, he was running dead last, and now he's marching up toward the front.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys in the middle part of this pack that we've really yet to mention, and Brandon Nelson is one of them, but he barely got in by the skin of his teeth by 1/1000th of a second last Sunday. But here he is in the battle with Peyton Hamilton. Great run for Peyton Hamilton. This is her first ever start on Napa Fan as well. And her brother, Mason Brown, failed to make it onto this race, so she's carrying the family here today for Eel Racing and then number 11 team. Still early on here in Indianapolis, you never know when she could have a shot at getting back up to the front. Matt Tuck there started 4th. He's midway through the pack. Got Nathan Stapleton back here. Davey Johnson, a Haas IndyCar Series veteran as well. Whereas this is Johnson's 5th Indianapolis 250. Zach Winkle back here, Cole Speed, Noah Clifton started in the back earlier today. Buck Hover in his first ever start. Chase Harris actually led not too long ago, but here he is at the back of the field with his teammate Marty Johnson. But everybody still in contention for this race victory. But we're closing in on pit stops here. In about 10 laps, I'd imagine we're going to see these guys come down the pit lane. And Trey, what are these guys thinking when it comes to this pit stop? How are they going to come down the pit lane to make sure they do not get into anybody trying to come down?
Unfortunately, none of the drivers can signal to the other drivers, hey, I'm coming down pit road with a hand outside the cockpit. But Indianapolis, it's not a whole lot hard to get on pit road like a track like Darlington per se, or Dover per se. But still, contact on pit road is definitely a major factor for some of these guys, so could happen. And if you make contact with someone, that could screw up your aerodynamics just a little bit, and it could potentially take you out of contention for this race. But the main thing that these drivers are going to want, tires, tires, tires. They are slipping and sliding like it's a NASCAR race on a dirt track out here. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the grip has definitely gone down in these race cars, no doubt about it, and that's why they're going single file for the majority of the field right now. It's just difficult to stay side by side, and if you're on that outside lane, you're not going to be side by side for that long. A lot of action going on throughout the entire field. Everybody's still in this lead pack, but once we get that first cycle of pit stops, especially if it stays green, then I think some guys are going to fall outside the pack and would probably have to have a caution to have another shot at the race victory. Thomas Lipscomb to the inside of Nicholas Amadio for second as Tristan Allen continues to lead this race. But you mentioned Schmidt-Peterson earlier, Micah. They had such a strong run last year, with the exception of you, unfortunately. But Audrey Bernauskas drove for this team last year, and they also had Christian Vargas, who owns Schmidt-Peterson now. And they finished 1-2 in the Indy 250 last year. No surprise to see Lipscomb and Lightning run up front here today. And to the inside for the race lead goes Thomas Lipscomb on Tristan Allen. Here comes Dale Lightning, looking for a third on Sam Adio. But Allen working the outside lane, looking to lead lap 33.
Yeah, you think you're seeing double, but those liveries, those Schmidt-Peterson liveries, are almost identical. The way you can tell Lipscomb apart is that his front wing is gold, whereas Lightning's is black. And yeah, like you said, they've got a couple of rocket ships. Schmidt-Peterson in the past, especially qualifying on the pole for the real-life Indy 500, they've always had really fast cars.
And I'm sure the owner, Christian Vargas, is loving what he's seeing. Of course, Vargas finished second in this race last year. He'd love to win this race as an owner here today. To the inside for the race lead, Dale Lightning on Thomas Lipscomb. And Mitchell Henderson's back up front as well. Henderson has definitely been the strongest Indy 250 only driver today, no doubt about it. Turner fell back, but Turner's moving his way back through the field again. But Henderson's the only Indy 250 only driver we've seen inside the top 5 consistently here today in Indianapolis.
Indeed it is. Mitchell Collins, he's going to actually... Yes, that is Mitchell Collins. It's there.
That's the number 24 there of Justin Zaidel moving his way to the inside of Dale Lightning for second. And Tristan Allen back on the inside lane there, running in third as he's to the inside of Lightning. But Henderson now pulling away at the number 88 here in Indianapolis with Zaidel up to second in the 24.
Yeah, impressive run by Henderson. One advantage that Indy 250 only drivers might have is that all their focus goes into this one race, whereas the other drivers, during the off season, they got to focus on the entire season. Though I think Henderson might have a little bit more focus on the 250.
And he's definitely focused very well on this race. Has found that inside lane when it's mattered, and he's currently leading here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for third. Tristan Allen on Dale Lightning. Max Anderson rolling his way on the inside, and his teammate Francois Chastain for Smith Motorsports. They're on that inside lane, rolling very strong so far in this Indy 250. San Mateo still just inside the top 10 right now. But guys like Garrett Sydnor, I think Sydnor's still up there, running in the 6th position, battling with Tristan Allen and Dale Lightning and Max Anderson. But other guys who were up front, guys like Nicholas San Mateo and the number 10 machine of John Innes have fallen back a bit. San Mateo moving his way back on that inside lane. Turner trying to have a good run. There's Ace Garcia in the 81 machine also, hoping to have a good position for when this green flag cycle of pit stops begins. Last driver in line right now is the number 66 of Zach Winkle, currently in the 33rd position, but everybody within 3.5 seconds of each other right now in the Indianapolis 250.
Top 2 drivers of Henderson and Zaidel have pulled away from this pack. The pit window is definitely open, so I expect to see some split strategy. Maybe some teams will not pack the car full of fuel, but there'll definitely be a 4-tire stop on all of these cars. I assure you that.
No doubt about it. They're getting ready for their first pit stop of the day, and it's going to be a critical one here. Zaidel wants to be the race leader once that cycle begins. Looking to the inside of Mitchell Henderson, but Henderson with the outside lane push. He is going to stay out front. Nobody's coming down quite yet. Like I mentioned, around lap 40 is when we expect these guys to come down the pit lane. But great run for Mitchell Henderson right now, the number 88. He's going to lead lap 38 of this event. We have ourselves 62 laps to go in the Indianapolis 250 on this Sunday afternoon. We thank you guys so much for watching. We know that the real-life Indy 500 isn't going on, but we're glad we can give you some Indianapolis action here today on the Memorial Day Sunday. And it's some good stuff so far here, caution-free so far, in the NOFSRL Indianapolis 250 for 2020.
The top 2 cars are breaking away as you see Lightning going for 3rd or 4th there. Looks like
to the inside, the cycle has begun. Dale Lightning, Max Anderson, Nicholas San Mateo, Andrew Miller coming down the pit lane. Owen Miles, Mitchell Collins, Luke Rainey, Nathan Faden, and Zach Winkle. So we'll have to see how this cycle plays out. Of course, the big thing these guys do not want to have happen on the racetrack is a caution. If a caution comes out, those guys, they're going to fall back, possibly a lap down in this race, and it's going to take a lot for them to get their lap back because we do not have a wave around in any Napa Fan Series. But our leaders are going to start coming down here soon. Mitchell Henderson, Justin Zaidel, Tristan Allen, Thomas Lipscomb, Igor Barreto. Henderson is going to come down the pit lane. Lipscomb will stay out and lead lap number 40.
Strategy between some of these guys. I don't think any of the team guys, I don't think there's any team orders from any of these guys whenever they're coming down, but Lipscomb, he stays out. Ace Garcia stays out. Nathan Stapleton stays out. Noah Clifton, a couple guys that have stayed out, including Audra Baranowskis. The leaders come out of their pit stops.
Lipscomb continuing to lead this race, lap 41 of 100. Here we go, Stapleton and Ace Garcia. They've yet to make their stops. Clifton and Baranowskis, you mentioned all these guys. And then Peyton Hamilton, Buckhover, and Cole Speed as well. Dale Lightning won the race off of the guys who just came down, then Andrew Miller, Nicholas Samadeo. The rest of the drivers are coming down the pit lane for their first stop. It'll be a two-stop race here today if it stays green. Mitchell Henderson winning the race off. Justin Zeidel, Tristan Allen, they're side-by-side back in there between Barretto and Troxel. Barretto will have the advantage on those drivers. Here come the first set of drivers who came down the pit lane. We'll have to see where Lightning falls in relation to the rest of the field.
Yeah, and talking about Lightning's teammate, Thomas Lipscomb in the 7 car, my concern for him is that maybe he's staying out too long. Number one, he doesn't have anybody to draft with, and two, if there's a yellow flag, he's going to be put in the back of the pack.
Not necessarily. If a caution does come out, he'll actually be the race leader, or close to the race lead, I should say. But it does appear that the driver that's going to win out the most on this cycle will be Mitchell Henderson and Justin Zeidel. They were 1-2 when the cycle began. They've pulled away quite nicely from the rest of the field. There is Lipscomb in the number 1. He was the first driver off of the last cycle. Here comes Henderson, though, off of turn 4. They're going to whiz by the 7, but Lipscomb will still be in the race for this win, as he's going to merge right there in the 4th position. Tristan Allen, 3rd. Lipscomb, 4th. Lightning in 5th. Andrew Miller, 6th. Igor Barretto, Nicholas Samadeo, Thomas Troxel, Brandon Nelson in the top 10 in his 2nd career Napa Fam start. He raced in yesterday's Freedom 50. He might have a little bit something up his sleeve after that event yesterday. But back to the race lead, side by side. The 24 and the 88, Zeidel to the inside for the race lead on lap 43.
The previous show we saw the 8-car Mitchell Collins. He got sucked off to the wall, so the marbles on the outside lane are definitely starting to build up. So the more these guys transition to the outside, the more they're going to get loose. So that's going to be interesting to see if that plays into the factor of how this race ends.
You see all the guys throughout the field. Tough break for Garrett Sydnor, pole sitter, who has fallen to the back of the field with Marty Johnson. Definitely a tough pit stop for these guys. However, if a caution comes out, they'll get right back into this thing. But Micah, we've had a clean race this entire day. Do you think a caution will come out here in this year's Indy 250?
Well, we had a couple of close calls early on, and like I said earlier, I think it's only going to get more intense, so I wouldn't rule it out.
It's the 2016 edition of this event. Like I mentioned earlier, the first caution came out on lap 61. That is the longest green flag run in Indy 250 history. We're currently pushing that lap 61 boundary, and we may break that record here today. Tristan Allen looking really fast to the inside of Henderson, now looking on the Haas IndyCar Series champion of Justin Zeidel. He's going to have a run to the inside for the top position here on lap 44.
Tristan Allen going to try and side draft the 24 just a little bit, heading into turns 1 and 2. He's not going to quite get him, but Zeidel will continue to be on the outside lane. Allen will suck off to the back bumper. He'll overtake him, towing the 88 of Henderson alongside of him.
Number 7, Thomas Lipscomb in 4th. He's going to join these guys here shortly. Andrew Miller and Dale Lightning will do the same. Samadeo, Troxel, and Brandon Nelson are running very strong. Ace Garcia now going to the 10th position. Brandon Nelson, that was a close one right there. He almost got to the inside of Troxel in a bad place. He's going to keep it together right now. All 33 drivers still on the racetrack here in Indianapolis, all still on the lead lap. They are led by Tristan Allen and Mitchell Henderson, going to the inside, back to the race lead on lap 46.
These guys up front are getting more and more racy. They're starting to be a lot braver, especially since they have new tires.
Lipscomb up to the 2nd position. For Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports, Tristan Allen, Justin Zeidel, they're going to bring in Miller and Lightning. We're going to have Zeidel Motorsport teammates and Schmidt-Peterson teammates inside this top 6 lead draft here very soon. That 48 and that 5 are coming. Brandon Nelson and these guys, they also might be coming. They have a much larger pack from Nathan Stapleton on up. They could easily rejoin the leaders and have a shot at the race lead here in a few laps. To the inside, Thomas Lipscomb on Mitchell Henderson.
Lipscomb, the gamble to stay out a few extra laps has definitely paid off in the short run. as he has got much fresh, 3-lap fresher tires than most of these guys. So definitely the best strategy to play. But is that gonna pay out at the end? Who knows?
Here comes Justin Zaidel to the inside of Mitchell Henderson for third. Andrew Miller and Dale Lightning have closed it to the back bumper of those guys. Of course, the back wing, I should say. These guys do not have bumpers anymore. But they're all right there in contention for the race lead. But Brandon Nelson, Ace Garcia, they're coming only 2.5 seconds behind. And I think they are slowly working their way towards the back of the lead pack. So we'll have to see how it all goes down as this race goes along. We're almost halfway here in the Indy 250. They're very racy back in here. You have Matt Tuck and Jesse Turner leading this pack with John Andrews. They fell back a little bit there on the cycle, and John Andrews looked 3 wide, but he didn't go and take it, which is a good thing out of the veteran driver. Definitely want to be smart.
Yeah, he wisely
staying there as well.
He wisely backed out of it there. You know, you want to save your car till the end, and even though he's mired back in traffic, I think that was the right move. Trying not to go 3 wide.
Of course, these guys are currently battling for 17th. They're about 6 seconds off the race lead. Jesse Turner moving his way to the inside right there. Got Max Anderson in this pack, Davey Johnson in this pack as well. And we got 3 wide. Francois Chastain on the inside of Davey Johnson. That was a close one right there. But they kept it together and fanned it back down. Baranowskis, defending Indy 250 winner, is also in this pack, 6 seconds off the race lead. So we'll have to see how those guys can find their way to the lead. Tristan Allen is back up front in the number 39 here in Indianapolis.
Just about had a heart attack when I saw Chastain and Johnson touch tires. Usually when cars touch tires, that sends them flying into the air. Since this is, I'm not entirely sure how the physics work in this game, but thankfully that did not happen, because that could have had a huge accident and several consequences for some other guys. But Tristan Allen back out the point here at the halfway mark of the Indy 250.
Next time by, we will officially be halfway through this race in the first half, caution-free. Such an excellent job by these 33 drivers. They're some of the best drivers on Napa Fan, and they have shown that here today. 125 miles in, Tristan Allen, the race leader in Indianapolis.
Lipscomb looking up the inside, heading into turn 2. Lipscomb's going to head to the point.
Justin Zaidel to the inside now. And Allen stuck in the outside lane as everyone behind him. Single file. Mitchell Henderson going to get around him. Andrew Miller going to get around him. And the 5 of Dale Lightning. None of these drivers in this top 6 have ever won the Indianapolis 250 before. And if I'm not mistaken, only one of them has ever won a race in this series before. That is Justin Zaidel, who won at Riverside in 2018. Somebody down the pit lane and an issue on Peyton Hamilton's machine. Such a tough break for the rookie driver in her first career Napa Fan start, but it looks like she might have had a tire puncture, and she is going to be sent a lap down for Eel Racing in the number 11. Tough break for those guys. Odds are that's going to take them out of contention here in this year's Indianapolis 250.
It's such a tough break for that EL Racing. Unfortunately, that team in the 11 will most likely not win today, but still out front. Thomas Lipscomb is doing a clinic on most of these guys. He's got Henderson behind him, and his teammate in the 5 of Dale Lightning still up front, the most consistent driver throughout the first half of this race.
And Andrew Miller, Justin Zaidel, and here comes Brandon Nelson in the 60. Such a strong run for this driver. Ace Garcia as well, both of these guys Indy 250 only drivers inside the top 10, closing up to the back of this pack, and it's now going to be one long line here from Owen Miles all the way on up. And not only that, these guys may end up rejoining. If Audrey Barnowskis can lead him to the back of Owen Miles, they've fanned it back down in that pack. Then you have these guys in here, Ryan Durrani, Cole Speed, Buck Hover, Jordan Lopez back in with these guys, and Chase Harris. And then Garrett Sydnor and Marty Johnson at the back of the field with Peyton Hamilton. She had her tire issue, unfortunately. She is the only driver currently a lap down here on lap 54 of 100 in the Indianapolis 250. Lipscomb continuing to lead. Mitchell Henderson, Dale Lightning, Tristan Allen, Andrew Miller, the top 5 here. And here comes Nelson, Garcia, Troxel, San Mateo. They're all going to rejoin this pack, and I think they're going to be bunched up here within a couple of laps.
Yeah, and you see the field mostly going single file, and of course, as I say that, Henderson is going to duck down for the race lead. But it looks like they've kind of settled into a rhythm here. Not too many people going side by side, of course, except for Henderson and Lipscomb.
And they were really close at the line right there.
Could you imagine if that were the finish? That was such a close margin at the line there.
Yeah, that could be the finish. If that would have been the finish, that would have been the closest finish in Indy 250 history. Lipscomb actually led that lap. Henderson did not get it there. Allen's back to third. Miller going to take fourth. Miller's one of the guys in this pack who has yet to lead a lap in this race, I think. Lipscomb going to go back to the inside of Henderson. He does not want him to lead another lap in this race. And he might get that inside lane to work there through turn number 4, but Henderson's going to have a run in the outside lane, and they're going to be side by side at the line once again.
Down to the line.
Twice in a row, and Lipscomb did it again. How about that for Thomas Lipscomb? Edging on Mitchell Henderson by a fraction of a second at the line, 2 laps in a row. Now, Miller's all of a sudden up to the second position, and Dale Lightning, Lipscomb's teammate, in third. And don't look now, Brandon Nelson has found his way to the 4th position in an Indy 250 only ride.
Indeed, for these Indy 250 only guys, it is win or bust. They will do anything in their power to try and win, and that makes that's not good.
Oh, yellow is out!
Guys.
Caution on the racetrack! And this might not even been because of an accident. Ace Garcia in the 81 stopped on the racing surface for our first caution of the day in the 2020 Indianapolis 250, and we were 4 laps away from breaking the record of the longest green flag run in this race. Thomas Lipscomb won the race back to the line. Peyton Hamilton will still be a lap down, but she will avoid going another lap down. Such a tough break for Ace Garcia. Mechanical issue on the machine, and it will bring out the first caution of the day in the 2020 Indy 250.
And throw out everything I just said about these drivers getting into a rhythm. With this caution, and actually right before the caution, things were starting to pick back up. But especially with this caution, things are going to be shaken up now. And I'd bet that these drivers are going to start getting a lot more racy here toward the end.
We have yet to see a wreck in this race, but we do have our first caution as Ace Garcia stopped on the racing surface there for a mechanical issue. Everybody else still on the lead lap with the exception of Peyton Hamilton. She had a tire puncture and had to come down the pit lane to repair it. She is a lap down. And now, I mean, we have this new fuel cell, but it may not end up working out to avoid what we had last year because we're right on the bubble here of the fuel window, about 40 to 42 laps. They're going to cross the line with 43 laps left in this race as they come down the pit lane. Thomas Lipscomb, Andrew Miller, Dale Lightning. Let's see how this all shakes out. Who will win the race off the pit lane here on lap 57 of 100?
Definitely going to be the money stop in this race. See cars on pit road. Do we see strategy with taking 2 tires or 4 tires? Definitely fuel is going to be the number one thing to pack into these Indy cars.
No doubt about it. Have to see who wins the race off the pit lane. This is going to regain everybody back into this pack, even guys like Garrett Sydnor and Marty Johnson who had lost the lead draft. There goes Lipscomb. He will win the race off. Andrew Miller, Brandon Nelson, Tristan Allen are 3 wide off the pit lane there as Troxel wins off from those guys. And then Andrew, or should I say, Justin Zaidel. I knew I was going to make that mistake at some point. Trey said that before the broadcast. It's going to be so hard not to call this Andrew Miller because this is the car, or should I say scheme, he drives in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series for Justin Zaidel's team. That's Andrew Miller. He's ahead of his team owner, Justin Zaidel, by 3 positions. Peyton Hamilton, a lap down, currently on the tail end, I do believe. We'll have to see if she stays out or not. I'd imagine she's going to come down and take surface, which would lead Lipscomb to be at the front of this field once we get to the restart. Lipscomb, Miller, Nelson, Allen, and Justin Zaidel, the top 5. Let's double check and see what happened to confirm with Ace Garcia to see how the caution was brought out here for the first time today in the 2020 NOFSRL Indianapolis 250. And Ace Garcia here in the 81, you're going to see him slow down significantly right there, hits the brakes, and we did see him come off the pit lane there before we went to replay this, but my goodness, it could have easily been an accident. Igor Barreto lost a lot of ground there as he had to slow it down off the 81. And at this point, the caution had yet to come out, but Ace Garcia just merged onto the racing sorcerer there. He had nowhere to go in the 81, stopped it, and called for the tow truck to take him to the pit lane to repair the tire, bringing out the first caution of the day here in the Indianapolis 250. Right there. It went out on him, and yellow flew for the first time. Thomas Lipscomb is your race leader. Let's get to the restart here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the 2020 NOFSRL Indianapolis 250. We're just getting started. About 40 laps to go when we restart here at the world's greatest racetrack. Let's see who gets it done here in the 2020 Indy 250. We are back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Hope you are having a wonderful Memorial Day Sunday. Given that rain doesn't happen tonight, we got the real-life Coca-Cola 600. Of course, we had our Coca-Cola 600 in the Chick-fil-A Cup Series back on Friday night, and that got a little wild there at the end. And with the way the fuel mileage is going here right now, they came down with 42 to go at about a 40 to 42 lap fuel run. It could be just like last year. But we could end up with another caution as well. We've yet to have a major wreck. We've yet to have a wreck in any way, shape, or form here in the Indianapolis 250. So we'll have to see if that wreck does occur here today. Thomas Lipscomb, your race leader. Andrew Miller, Brandon Nelson, Tristan Allen, Justin Zaidel, Thomas Troxel. First time Nathan Stapleton has been inside the top 10. A great run for him so far. Dale Lightning, Mitchell Henderson, and Mitchell Collins. That's the top 10 coming back to green in the Indy 250. Lipscomb, your race leader. Miller did not get going, and Nelson looking to the inside for second on the restart.
With everybody having fresher tires, I expect these guys to bunch up extremely quick within 4 or 5 laps. But Lipscomb just shot out like a rocket, and he's going to get a huge jump on these guys.
That's not what you want, though. We talk about the draft in NASCAR and how at a super speedway you don't want to get out too far ahead. That's the same thing here at Indianapolis with these Indy cars. If he gets too far ahead, these guys are going to have a huge run on him for the race lead. Brandon Nelson for second. He started in the last position, 33rd, and now he's going for the second position on the racetrack to the inside of Andrew Miller. Tristan Allen and Justin Zaidel still up here. They're working the inside, but it's Lipscomb out front at Indy.
Yeah, Allen gave Nelson a great shot down into turn 1. It looked like he peeked to the inside there. But Nelson's going to maintain second as you see Zaidel taking 4th place.
Here comes Thomas Troxel in the 17, and we mentioned Nathan Stapleton the first time he's been inside the top 10 all day. Such a huge moment for the Indiana native. This would be a huge win for Stapleton. He's had a couple of huge wins in his career, but none would be bigger than this one if he could pull it off. He's going to get around Troxel right there, and here we go. Brandon Nelson, with help from Tristan Allen, looking to the inside of Thomas Lipscomb. Both Nelson and Lipscomb early in their careers, and Nelson will take it away to the inside through turn 1, and Lipscomb's going to lose 3 positions in 1 turn. Here comes Tristan Allen for second, and Zaidel is third. Here comes Miller, and Nathan Stapleton moving his way back on that inside lane. He might also get around Lipscomb. Tristan Allen to the inside of Brandon Nelson for the race lead.
First time we've seen this cat up here all day. Zach Winkle in the 66 car. He's up in this front pack as they split up into two different packs. The back cars are strung out single file, but the first 12 or so guys, they are all bunched up, and it's a hornet's nest for the lead.
It definitely is. Tristan Allen has taken it away from Brandon Nelson. Now Justin Zaidel looking to the inside. Nathan Stapleton up to third in the 34 machine. I can only imagine what Stapleton would do if he won this thing, but we're still early on. And like we mentioned, fuel usage is going to be a big factor in this race. If we do not get another caution here today, which Henderson almost made it 3 wide there off the corner, but if we do not get another caution in this race, fuel mileage is going to come into play no matter what. Some of these guys in the back might actually be saving fuel. And Audra Baranowskis is one of those drivers who knows exactly what it is, or should I say exactly how it is, to win a race when somebody else runs out of gas, and she does not want that to happen to her. But these guys in the back, Max Anderson, Matt Tuck, Audra Baranowskis, Igor Barreto, and Chase Harris, Ryan Durrani, Cole Speed. There's Garrett Sydnor and Jordan Lopez with Buck Hover. They've fallen off quite a bit. Ace Garcia's a lap down. Jesse Turner, Peyton Hamilton's a lap down. And then Marty Johnson's had a tough day. Not much speed in that race car so far in the Indianapolis 250 for Otter Island Motorsports. Number 88 to the inside for the race lead. Mitchell Henderson is back out front with now 35 laps to go at the line.
And John was exactly right. These cars have bunched up here. And a lot of guys running side by side. It's getting, laps are slowly starting to tick down, so you never know when someone could slip up and make a mistake.
There goes Nathan Stapleton to the inside for third, Zach Winkle. You mentioned the first time we've seen him up front all day. He was in the last night shootout. Same with Nathan Stapleton. Both of those drivers were in the last night shootout last Sunday. Both made their way into this race, and now both inside the top 5 with less than 35 laps to go. Lipscomb, though, back to the inside for the race lead, and this is the largest I've seen this pack so far, going double wide. That is definitely recipe for trouble. If any of these guys go 3 wide, it could be a mess.
Indeed, it could be. They're getting a lot racier than they have in the majority of this race. So I'm gonna make a prediction. I don't think that the thing is gonna come into factor because we are going to have a wreck, which is going to change the entire complexity of this race. I think is very possible at this point. The way these guys are bunched up and how they're racing.
Of course, Nathan Stapleton saw that happen firsthand with his girlfriend
Ooh,
last year, and right ahead of him, it's 3 wide.
Go.
That's Mitchell Collins and in the wall. They're lighting upside down through the field. A big wreck here in Indianapolis, but these guys are slowing down, and I give them a lot of credit for doing that. They're stacking it up, but no major hits. But the second caution of the day, the first wreck, and they are piling it in the back.
Oh no.
As they're trying to slow down, coming across the line to race back, Mitchell Collins in the 8 is destroyed. Oh brother.
And I
got that prediction exactly right, didn't I?
Okay, what are tonight's lottery numbers, Trey? Mitchell Collins looks like his day will end right there. Such a tough week all around for Hair Gel Motorsports. One of their drivers failed to qualify with Mason Brown, and now Mitchell Collins out of the race. And Dale Lightning went flying through the... Yeah, he's still in the top 10.
My word.
He's definitely going to have to come down to repair some damage, though. I will say that. Nathan Faden also got caught up in that one, but I do give these guys credit. They slowed down, and actually it's a good thing that that wreck happened when it did, because they were racing back to the line, but they slowed it down right afterwards, and that's why we saw a lot of those guys jam it up in the back, because they were trying to slow down, and the whole pack just stopped on the racetrack, and they were going a little fast, because they were a little ways behind that whole thing. I think Davey Johnson might have gotten a piece of that one in the 20. Matt Tuck in the 28. And a lot of guys in the back who got caught up in this one. Ryan Durrani, Garrett Sydnor, Buck Hover. Both of the AJ Foyt guys. What a wild one here from Indy. And it's a split strategy as well. This is definitely interesting. Dale Lightning obviously coming down. But we saw Tristan Allen come down. Allen is not going to risk it. And neither is Andrew Miller or Matt Tuck. Actually, I think Matt Tuck was involved in the accident. Justin Zidell also coming down the pit lane. Those 3 guys, 3 of our race leaders, have come down the top off on fuel. They want to make sure they can make it to the end of this race, because even with these caution laps, I don't know if our race leaders can make it the whole way, because we thought that was going to be the case last year, and we saw what happened to Jonathan King. So it's going to be interesting. Tom Slipscomb opting to stay out under this caution. Same with Zach Winkle, Mitchell Henderson, Nathan Stapleton, and Thomas Troxel. It's going to definitely get interesting, though, with these 3 guys in particular. 3 guys who have been up front in this race pretty much the entire day, topping off on fuel. It is guaranteed that they can make it to the end, but we still don't know about our race leaders. They might have to make a stop right at the end of this one here from Indianapolis. But either way, guys, our first wreck of the day coming on lap 68 of 100, or should I say 67 of 100. Let's go ahead and see what happened to knock out a couple drivers here in this year's Indianapolis 250. And we saw this 3 wide happen. Dale Lightning, Mitchell Collins, both in their first ever Indianapolis 250s. And I think it's a good thing that they wrecked when they did and not in the turn one, because the caution came out right there before anybody crossed the line, so they raced back to the line just like that, and you see Nathan Faden get caught up. And this is the best angle we can really get because so much smoke from these tires. Lightning got spun around, so did Collins. Collins actually took the worst hit, even though Lightning went upside down and flipped around. You know, something about the IndyCar mod, no matter what IndyCar mod it is, this is the third different one we've used for this race. They are durable. You can smash them in the wall and they'll still go. But then you see back in here, these guys who were not part of that main pack, they had fallen off, get jammed up right there, and Audra Baranowskis rear-ended Davey Johnson. Those are two of the most experienced guys in the field. And then you see Ryan Durrani, Garrett Sydnor, Buck Hover, Lopez, and Cole Speed. They just jam it up back in the Igor Barretto. And Ace Garcia, Marty Johnson, Peyton Hamilton, and Jesse Turner also back in there. They were a little ways behind this whole thing. They did not see it, and they did not slow down in time. Lopez getting jammed up. Marty Johnson getting jammed up. Ace Garcia had Lopez on top of him. And it's not like these guys were really in contention anyway. They had fallen off the draft, and they were considerably slower than the rest of the field. But just add insult to injury right there for those guys. And a tough break for Marty Johnson. See the damage to his wing right there on the number 75 machine.
Yeah, it looked like Lightning locked wheels there, and he pulled a Clint Boyer going 360 and landing on his wheels. And then you see the entire pack starting to slow down. And in this situation, there's just not a lot of room to get your car through that accident, and caused a bit of an accordion effect when people started to check up. It's similar to highway traffic, only these cars are like spaceships, and it's 220 miles an hour.
Well, thankfully it wasn't that fast when they ran into him. They were trying to slow down, but with all the smoke, they didn't know where anything was. And a few guys with wing damage after all that there. We're going to go on board somebody, then take you back to the restart here at Indianapolis. I say we go on board Dale Lightning. He took the wildest ride of those guys. Let's see what it felt for him in the number 5 machine.
Buckle your seatbelts and get ready for this, as Dale Lightning, he gets hooked by Mitchell Collins going down the front stretch, and woohoo! Then just locks the brakes and then just keeps on going like a boss. This carnage unfolds behind him. If Dale Lightning can pull that off, I think he's still going to have a shot to win this race. He might have a little bit of suspension damage, but other than that, I think he's going to be a huge factor when this race comes down to its final laps.
We're just going to have to see how fast his car is. If he gained enough damage on the wing, they could have replaced the wing pretty easily, of course, but we'll have to see if he's fast enough, because we got some fast guys up front. Let's go ahead and get to the restart. A few guys came down, but our leaders did not, and we don't know if they can make it to the end on fuel. We'll have to see. Thomas Lipscomb leading the Indianapolis 250 with under 30 laps to go in the 2020 edition of the Haas IndyCar Series opener. And we are just coming back here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, just about to take the green flag for the restart of Francois Chastain. First career Napa fan start. Such a heartbreak for this team. Engine expiring, and looks like his day will be done. And he is going to join Ace Garcia, I think, is out of the race as well, and the number 8 of Mitchell Collins knocked out. Peyton Hamilton, I believe she is still on the racetrack a lap down. And Garrett Sydnor also out of the race in the number 19. That stack-up was enough to knock him out. Our pole sitter gonna finish deep in the field here today. Such a tough break there for Sydnor. Had such high hopes coming into this thing. Not gonna end as well as he had hoped. And then Cole Speed in the 4 also out. His teammate Jordan Lopez still in the race at the back of the field. Back to the front. It's Thomas Lipscomb, Zach Winkle, Mitchell Henderson, Nathan Stapleton, Thomas Troxel, Brandon Nelson, Noah Clifton. First time we've seen him in the top 10 all day. John Andrews. Luke Rainey has been as quiet as you can get. And then Nicholas Samedeo. Both Rainey and Samedeo, the 2017 and 2018 winners of this event. Keep in mind, the drivers who came down the pit lane who were race leaders, Tristan Allen, Andrew Miller, and Justin Zeidel. Watch out for those guys as this race goes along. if these guys up front have to come down and pit because they came down right on the fuel window, they could be in the catbird seat to win this race. Thomas Lipscomb, Zach Winkle, and Winkle looking to the inside for the race lead on Thomas Lipscomb. Mitchell Henderson is here. Noah Clifton is back in the field as well, but his good friend Nathan Stapleton and his other good friend Brandon Nelson are ahead of him inside the top 10. But for the race lead, Zach Winkle on lap 72 will lead his first lap of the race.
Mitchell Henderson, he's going to try and get the aerodynamic toe that is the draft off of Winkle. He's going to go to the inside of the 66, trying to overtake him, going to get a little close going through 2, and they're dead even going down the back straightaway.
Another thing to definitely watch out for is the tire wear. I mean, these guys up front, compared to Miller, Seidel, and Allen, might not be as fast. These guys have fresher tires. They can whip right through the field if they choose to do so. The problem is, though, they're a little ways behind the main pack right now, and might take them a little bit to get up front, but we still have ourselves 27 laps to go when we cross the line this time by. Mitchell Henderson is leading. This would be a huge win for Mitchell Henderson if he could pull it off. We'll have to see if he can do so, but Lipscomb back to the inside. I do believe Davey Johnson has come down the pit lane, and he has. We just saw him there coming off the pit lane. Tough break for Davey Johnson. He's going to go a lap down here today at Indianapolis.
Here comes Lipscomb back for the race lead. He's been up front all day. I've been very impressed by that number 7 car.
Chris Lipscomb, like you mentioned, definitely the strongest driver all day, but that doesn't mean a thing until the end of the race. Obviously, it's not over until it's over. We all thought Jonathan King. I'm getting my names mixed up here. My apologies. We all thought Jonathan King was going to win last year's Indy 250, but at the end, he came down the pit lane and ran out of gas, and Audra Baranowskis came home with the race victory. And that's a very high possibility for a lot of these guys who are up front, because like we mentioned, the last time they came down was about 42 laps to go, and that's right at the fuel window. Now, given they've had a lot of caution laps under that time, but that might not be enough for them to make it to the end. But either way, they're going to race for it like it's not going to be an issue. Nathan Stapleton to the inside of Thomas Lipscomb. You got John Andrews here in the 10. He has found his way back inside the top 5. Great run for Andrews. And it's 2 Indy 250 only drivers leading this field with Zach Winkle and Mitchell Henderson 1-2.
Indiana native of Nathan Stapleton, if he wins this race, it will be a party for Stapleton Nation. He's going to try and overtake the 88, but Henderson's going to shut the door as they both fall along the 66. There goes Henderson trying to overtake, but no, he's going to think better of it. So it's a bit of a 3-car breakaway, just a little bit over the 9 and the 17.
These guys single file right now. Henderson's trying to find a way around Zach Winkle, but they might be trying to stay in the single file line so they can save a little bit of fuel. You get a better fuel usage if you're behind somebody. And that might be why Henderson's not going for the pass right yet. You got Stapleton, you got Andrews, you got Thomas Troxel running 5th, and for the race lead, Mitchell Henderson on Zach Winkle. Stapleton's going to file behind the 88. And it looks like Troxel might get a run on Andrews. No, Andrews will remain in that position. Winkle on the outside of Stapleton as Henderson goes back to the point here in Indianapolis.
I don't know. If I were in this scenario, I don't know if I would want to be leading. When you're leading, you're definitely burning a lot more fuel than those guys behind you, and they're basically profiting off of your draft.
They definitely are. Of course, Winkle led a few laps there, but he's going to fall back here. Troxel in the 17. He could have made it 3 wide if he wanted to, but Troxel, a veteran of this series, thought better of it. John Andrews as well, a veteran of this series. He's to the inside of Zach Winkle for the 4th position. And Lipscomb still in this thing. Watch out for that number 7. And don't look now. Watch out for Mr. Edge, Nicholas Amadio, and Luke Rainey, a couple of drivers who have won this race before. But especially watch out for Luke Rainey. We have yet to see him up front at all in this race. And late in the going, he's up here, but Brandon Nelson almost 3 wide with Troxel. They kept it together, but like you said, Micah, these guys getting so much more aggressive. We might not be done with the yellow flags here today in the Indy 250. Meanwhile, Henderson continuing to lead this race. John Andrews is second. For 3rd, that's Troxel on Thomas Lipscomb.
Shout out to the number 23 of Noah Clifton. He's back up in this thing, been fairly quiet all day. But like you said, we cannot rule out another yellow flag, especially on how racy these guys are heading. I don't think it's going to be in the next straightaway that these guys are going to wreck, but I think we see another yellow flag in the next 20 laps before this race ends?
Well, the minute Trey starts pointing out yellows, I wouldn't be surprised if something happened in the next corner.
Here comes John Anders for the race lead on Mitchell Henderson. They have split a gap between them and third place. Lipscomb's back to the inside of Troxel. Nelson going to take fourth away. Luke Rainey is up here as well. And this is a lot different from what Luke Rainey did in his 2017 win. In 2017, he was up front a majority of that race. This time, he's been in midway through the field the entire day. But until now, it's the first time he's been inside the top 5 in this year's Indianapolis 250. Great run for Luke Rainey, the 2017 Haas IndyCar Series champion and Indianapolis 250 winner. He is up now to the 5th position behind Brandon Nelson. They have put Mitchell Henderson out of the way, and it's John Andrews leading the field with 20 laps to go in the Indy 250. Trey, who do you think is going to win this race? By the looks of the way things are going right now, we got so many guys who are moving their way through this pack. Who's got the strongest car at the end of this one here in Indianapolis?
As you saw in your mirror, up ahead we do have some lap traffic, but I think Thomas Lipscomb is going to end up in victory lane. He has been by far the strongest and most consistent car in this race. Played a little bit of strategy on the first pit stop to get him in the position where he is. So I think Lipscomb is going to be the victor at the end of this race.
You mentioned lap traffic here. That's Nathan Faden there in the number 21 machine. He is on the tail end of the lead lap, about to go a lap down. Marty Johnson might also be a factor here soon. There goes Lipscomb to the inside, but they got to get around Faden here. Where will Faden go? Lipscomb will get around the 21 machine. You got to be on that inside lane here. These guys are not going to be too happy with Nathan Faden. Going to go a lap down, was involved in that stack up earlier on. He's actually one of the guys who went around initially, but clearly nowhere near as fast as the rest of the field. And whenever we hit a slow car like this in this race, it could be trouble. Stapleton really had the opportunity on Samadea, but those guys have raced long enough to know not to do that. Few guys getting away. Troxel, Max Anderson has gotten away in the 3. He's currently in the 5th position. Then you have Henderson, Rainey, Brandon Nelson in the 2nd position, and Thomas Lipscomb continuing the lead. But look at the gap that it has created in this lead draft. Now John Andrews still stuck behind the 21, Owen Miles, Zach Winkle. These guys on the inside moving around the 21 of Nathan Faden. Chase Harris got blocked a little bit there, but he will finally get around the 20 machine. Here comes Barretto and Miller and Winkle. And I believe the last guy who's going to get around Faden is going to be John Andrews, who was the race leader not that long ago. That has got to be super frustrating for John Andrews in this race, but you mentioned it, Trey. Thomas Lipscomb has been the strongest guy in today's Indy 250, and I do believe he's going to have the strongest shot at winning this race, but there's going to be more lap cars. Marty Johnson in the 75, Ryan Durrani in the 77. We'll have to see how it all goes down. Look at these Indy 250 only guys. Brandon Nelson started 33rd. Mitchell Henderson started 12th. But they don't care about that right now. They're 1, 2, 3. Lipscomb, Nelson, and Henderson here at Indianapolis, coming to 16 laps to go. Will they have enough fuel is just the big question for these race leaders right now.
Big question is, and definitely for Thomas Lipscomb, as he is leading this lap. Like Micah said, the more you lead, the more fuel you burn. And Lipscomb is definitely one of those guys that are on the bubble as they approach Marty Johnson. So it's going to be interesting to see if Lipscomb maybe allows the 60 car to take the lead and get a draft off him, saving him some fuel. Oh, a little bit of contact almost there between Henderson and Johnson. That could have changed the whole complexity of this race.
And you see the damage on the wing of Marty Johnson, and that's definitely slowing him down tremendously. It's such an aerodynamic-dependent racetrack, and Johnson's simply not getting it right now. There goes Troxel. He gets around Marty Johnson. Luke Rainey. I don't know about Rainey if he's going to get around the 75. It's going to bring these guys back in. And don't look now. Here comes Justin Zaidel. Highest of those guys who came down and topped off under the last caution. Tristan Allen also did the same. He's fallen to the back of these guys right here. And Miller got stuck behind Nathan Faden for an extended period of time. He has lost a little bit of ground to the other two guys who came down along with them. But Lipscomb continuing the lead. The number 60 of Brandon Nelson looking to the inside. Here comes Mitchell Henderson as well, coming to 14 laps to go in the Indy 250.
fantastic racing up at the front of the pack, as you see Nelson looking to try and lead another lap, but it looks like he's not going to be able to.
Ryan Durrani in the way now in the 77. They're going to get around him just fine. At least the top 3 drivers are. Troxel, Rainey, Anderson, Sam Adio, Zidell, Stapleton, Allen, Clifton. They've all gotten around Marty Johnson. Now they got to get around Ryan Durrani.
Interesting to see how they navigate through lap traffic. If lap traffic plays a factor in this race, Durrani, he's not going to block anyone just yet. I think if all these guys run out of gas, I think tire wear is not going to play a huge factor as the tires have definitely evened out. I think if fuel comes into play, I think that the 24 of Justin Zidell is going to be in the catbird seat in that department.
We'll have to see how it all goes down. It's still Lipscomb leading this race. He's led more laps than anyone here today. If you look down the backstretch there, nobody in sight, so they should be good to go to the end of the race when it comes to lap traffic. But Brandon Nelson, in Thomas Lipscomb as well. Both of these drivers just started racing on Napa Fan this weekend. And here they are, 1-2 in the biggest race on Napa Fan. Both have been dominant drivers. And we'll just have to see if either of them get the race victory or will it be somebody else. You have Luke Rainey up here inside the top 5. He's in a battle with Max Anderson right now. Max Anderson, another dark horse for this one. He has been strong here today. And it's his first time really running up front in the number 3 machine. Sam Adio as well. You can never count on Mr. Edge. You got Troxel and Justin Zidell. Watch out for our defending Haas IndyCar Series champion. This could be his day in the biggest race of the year. We'll have to see how it all goes down. Brandon Nelson has gotten to the race lead. He's gotten around Thomas Lipscomb, coming to 11 laps to go in the Indy 250.
And I wouldn't rule out that 88 car of Henderson, as you see Lipscomb trying to take the lead back here into turn 1. But that 88's been up there all day too. And with these two racing side by side, that might open the door up for the 88 to take the race lead.
Yeah, Henderson's been waiting very patiently behind Lipscomb and Nelson here, but don't look now. Rainey, Sam Adio, Troxel, and Zidell is coming. I really do think Zidell, he has the fresher tires. I know Trey said that they've evened out, but they're still fresher on that 24 machine, and he has been getting through this field very nicely during this green flag run. I just don't know about these guys back in here. Stapleton, Allen, Clifton, Winkle, Miller, Barretto, and Chase Harris. We're just going to have to see if they can close in on these guys up front. But Henderson looking to the inside of Lipscomb. Lipscomb has the advantage on the outside lane. 10 laps to go in the Indianapolis 250 in the Haas IndyCar Series. Who is going to win this great race here today?
Feel like I'm going to change my prediction just a little bit here. The 88 of Mitchell Henderson, he has been drafting off of these guys for the past 10 or 15 or so laps, saving fuel. He has more fuel than both Nelson and Lipscomb. So I think if this thing stays green and if Henderson doesn't run out of fuel, he's going to end up in victory lane. But don't count out Justin Zidell. Play the Jaws team, everybody. He is coming.
All these guys are coming. Look at this. They've actually regained into a single file line, and I imagine they're going to be going much faster than our race leaders. Rainey's pulled out a little bit. Rainey is about 1.5 seconds off, but these guys behind him are slowly closing in. They're going to put Troxel in the outside lane here. That's not what Troxel wants at all, because every single driver in this single file line is going to surpass him, and Troxel definitely wants to be one of those guys who gets to the back of our race leaders by the time they catch up to him, because I think they're going to catch up to the race leaders here before the end of the race. Henderson has gone to the race lead. He's gotten around Thomas Lipscomb, lap 92 of 100. Nelson is third, Luke Rainey is fourth, and Justin Zidell runs inside the top 5, the highest he has been since the last caution. Sam Adio, Max Anderson, Tristan Allen on the inside of Thomas, Troxel, Stapleton, Winkle, Clifton, and Miller. They all still have a shot, I do believe. Will they catch up to the race leaders before the end of the race? They might catch up on Nathan Faden again. This could really get interesting with the lap traffic late in this race.
One thing I noticed about Nelson is that he's gotten a lot closer to the leaders, like track position-wise. He's not afraid to run right on the back of that gearbox, whereas Henderson has been laying back a little bit more, trying to get a bigger slipstream.
Here comes the number 1 of Luke Rainey. They're starting to close in. They got a big draft, and I think with Faden coming in the way here, they're going to run into him this lap. If these guys get held up, that's going to bring in Rainey and Zidell. Lipscomb back to the inside. Lap 94-100. We're closing in. If we get a caution, the race will end under caution. It's 5 laps to go at that mark, so if we get a caution, we would want it to happen right now if we want to have a restart in this race. They're going to close in on Faden once again. Lipscomb, the dominant guy of this race, will he win in his first career Napa Fan start in the biggest race on Napa Fan? He had to check it up on Faden. And here comes Rainey, Zidell, Sam Adio, and Max Anderson. They are going to have a shot at this race victory, I do believe. The thing is, they got to get around Nathan Faden now. Zidell to the inside of Rainey for 4th.
Got extremely close with Lipscomb and the lap car of Faden. This is the point in the race where the crew
Zidell got checked up just a little bit there. Rainey's going to get held up. Oh, that's a tough break for Luke Rainey. He's not going to get around Faden in time. But Zidell, Anderson, Sam Adio, Stapleton's going to get held up. Just going to be those 3 guys at this point. I don't know if they're going to have enough to close in to Mitchell Henderson and these guys. We're just going to have to see. Will the fuel hold up for our race leaders? Thomas Lipscomb, the biggest race of his career, the first race of his career. 5 laps to go in the Indy 250 for the rookie driver.
Yeah, and these top 3 guys have started to break away. It looked like that second pack was starting to catch up, but after they encountered that lap traffic, they might have lost a little bit of ground, but definitely don't rule out Zidell. Like Alex said, he's been a lot faster than some of these guys he's had to pass just because he's got fresher tires. Here comes Henderson for 2nd place now.
Yeah, Henderson wants to be in position to get around Lipscomb here. They are losing time. 4 laps to go in the Indianapolis 250 for Thomas Lipscomb in the number 7 machine. Zidell and Anderson, that lap, they closed in by about a 10th. That's not going to be enough if they're going to get to the race lead. It might be between Lipscomb, Henderson, and Nelson for the Indianapolis 250 race victory. All 3 of these drivers in their first Indy 250. Who's going to get it done coming to 3 laps to go?
It's definitely going to be a nail-biter to the end. Nelson to the inside of Henderson. These guys are the only... This is their only...
Lipscomb's coming down! He ran out of gas!
Oh!
Lipscomb is down the pit lane! We now have 3 laps to go! It's happening again! Mitchell Henderson with 3 to go! But will Henderson and Nelson have to come down the pit lane? We know Zidell can make it! Will the 24 be able to stretch the fuel and win the Indy 250? They're coming to 2 laps to go. Brandon Nelson has taken the race lead, but I don't know if these guys are going to have enough in the tank to make it. Unbelievable. It happened again.
That is just a heartbreak for Thomas Lipscomb. Just, couldn't save enough.
Henderson to the inside, but does he have to come down the pit lane? He does!
He does.
Brandon Nelson is also coming down.
Oh man, here we
go! Here we go! Side by side, Max Anderson to the inside of Justin Zidell. Will Anderson make it? Will Zidell make it? Will Sam Adio make it? Fuel mileage at the end of the Indy 250. Will Zidell win this race? We know he can make it. Or will somebody who stretched the fuel win this race? It's going to be the white flag next time by in the Indianapolis 250. Max Anderson is the race leader. We don't know what's going to happen. Watch out for Tristan Allen. He also can make it to the end. We know that for sure. Nicholas Samadio's here. But will Anderson, Samadio, and Truxell have to come down? Anderson's coming down. Samadio staying out. Nicholas Samadio in the number 9. Will he have enough gas? White flag for Mr. Edge. 1 to go in the Indy 250.
This is pure pandemonium for these guys. And here comes Troxel to the inside.
Here comes Allen. If Troxel and Samadio have to come down, this is the battle for the race win between Tristan Allen and Justin Zidell. They're merging on with guys who have already come down the pit lane. Zach Winkle in the 66 getting in the way. Nicholas Samadio. Will he have enough fuel or will he have to come down on the final lap? Just like last year, he's pulling away with Thomas Troxell across the line. He's got the gas. Mr. Edge, you know he's got it. His second Indianapolis 250 race victory. Nicholas Samadio has done it again. You can't stop him.
Once again, where did he come from? Oh my goodness.
The first driver to ever win 2 Indianapolis 250s. He saved the gas to perfection. Nicholas Sam a freaking Dio does it again. Wow.
Oh my goodness. What a race. What a finish. Once again, even though we put the new tanks in, it's still going to come down to fuel mileage. These guys will not give up a fuel mileage race.
Now, I gotta say this, I'm glad they didn't come down on the last lap. That would have really been bad. He kept it in the gas and just drove it to the end. I cannot believe it. We call him Mr. Edge for a reason, my friend. This guy is one of the most exciting drivers to have ever raced on Napa Fan. And Nicholas Samadio has done it again. He won it 2 years ago in 2018, and he has won the Indianapolis 250 again on fuel mileage, beating out Thomas Troxell, Tristan Allen, and Justin Zaidel. Oh my, this race never disappoints, and like I said, it is never over until it is over. Wow, what a race here from Indy. I'm shaking right now, like I always do at the end of this race. What a heartbreaker for Thomas Lipscomb, Mitchell Henderson, and Brandon Nelson. They just ran it too much. Sam Adio was in the back, he was saving his fuel, and you gotta give a lot of credit to Thomas Troxell as well. He finished second in this race, so close to winning it, just couldn't get to Sam Adio at the line. We knew that Tristan Allen and Justin Zaidel can make it to the end, but I don't think they were expecting Sam Adio and Troxell to be able to make it out, and they went for the race win. They didn't care. Sam Adio and Troxell were going for it, and they passed Zaidel right at the end, took the race victory, but first of all, that's got to hurt for Lipscomb, but I'm not surprised by that. Are you guys surprised that they had to come down near the end?
Definitely not, especially for Lipscomb. He was out way too much, burning way too much fuel. He was already on the bubble as it was. All three of those guys were on the bubble, but just absolute heartbreak for those guys. And two of those, that was their only race of the year. So,
I got to say though, for Brandon Nelson and Mitchell Henderson, they did such an excellent job in this race. And while it is disappointing to not have enough gas at the end, they still both showed us that they are really solid drivers, especially Brandon Nelson, with this being only his second career Napa Fan starter. We've seen Henderson for a couple of years here, but Micah, I mean, we saw this happen with Alexander Rossi in the real-life Indianapolis 500. He stretched it to the end to get his first ever win. Now with Sam Adio, he's a veteran. He's won this thing before. He's been an IndyCar champion, but it felt just the same. Maybe a little bit more exciting this year, in this year's Indianapolis 250.
Yeah, and I was surprised because, like you said, he wasn't one of those guys that topped off during the last caution. So he played it just right, saved just enough fuel to make it to the end, and that overall, that's just a very respectable and impressive run by that number 9 car.
Of course, Nicholas Samadio was a guy who ran up front. He kind of was in the middle of the race a majority after the first cycle, but like I said, he saved the gas to perfection and comes home with his second Indianapolis 250 race victory. Of course, Josh Marzek won the Daytona 500 last year to become the first driver to win 2 Daytona 500s. Sam Adio's also won a Daytona 500 before, but now he has 2 Indianapolis 250s on his resume. I mean, this guy, I've known him a long time. He's been racing on Napa Fan forever. It's such an honor to have him still here, and I love the heck out of this guy because he just gives us so much exciting stuff. He's won the closest finish on Napa Fan. He's the first driver to win 2 Indianapolis 250s, and he gave us another exciting finish in the Indianapolis 250 once again. Final thoughts on this race, guys. I'll start with you, Trey. Just a great race from start to finish. We didn't see those wild wrecks like we saw last year. It was a very clean race, and I just don't think anyone expected it to finish quite like this here today in Indianapolis.
Indeed, this race was definitely unpredictable. We predicted it to be an extremely wild race, but it was mostly calm for the first part. For the first half of the race, it was calm. Then we had the Ace Garcia caution where he stopped on the back straight away. And then that set up the big one where Dale Lightning, he flipped over Mitchell Collins, he will unfortunately out of that. And I would like to point out that Dale Lightning did finish in the 18th position, so not a really bad day for that team. Then just the fuel strategy at the end with the drama in the final 3 or so laps. Just overall, an amazing race. Will definitely go down as one of the most nail-biting and interesting Indy 500s. Indy 250s, excuse me.
Alex did the same thing last year when we were calling the finish of the race. It's okay. But Nicholas Samir, the race winner, and Micah, this was your first ever race commentating with me. Of course, you've known me longer than pretty much anybody else, but how was your first race? Did you enjoy it? I mean, I don't think it gets much better than that.
Yeah, it was very exciting. Definitely saw a lot of a mix of different styles of racing, and that was pretty cool to see. I mean, we started out with the wild pack racing side by side all the way through the field, and then we kind of slowly transitioned over to a fuel mileage race, and both of them are pretty entertaining to watch, and it was a fun race to call, and I want to thank you for having me. It was a good time.
Absolutely, and I believe you're going to hear both of these guys throughout the season here in the Haas IndyCar series. Obviously, neither of them are in the series. Mike is a huge IndyCar fan, so he's perfect for the series, and Trey, now being an owner and pretty much being my wingman when it comes to calling races at this point, you're probably going to be hearing them a lot throughout the season here in the Haas IndyCar series. And yes, we're just starting the season out. I don't know if we can top that. We might. But we'll have to see. Our next race is going to be next Friday afternoon. This coming Friday, I should say. May 29th, I think at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The Grand Prix of Lime Rock, the first road course race of the season. It's going to be completely different than what we saw today. But it's going to be interesting to see, with the season beginning, how these drivers fare in the championship. Of course, Nicholas Sambadia will come into that race, the points leader. And, he might win a second IndyCar championship. Very possible that could happen, but either way, thank you guys so much for watching here. Thank you for watching Indy 250 week all around. It's a busy week for me. It was a little bit easier to do it this year since, well, you know what, and I couldn't work because of that. So I had a lot more time on my hands this year to do all this, which made it more enjoyable. And I appreciate all you guys watching this whole week of racing, from the Chick-fil-A Cup Series to the Turkey Hill Series to the Hers Dash Series, the Freedom 50 to the Indy 250. We really appreciate it here in the NOFSRL, and it was a big deal for us, and we're so glad you enjoyed it. A huge thanks to Trey Wright and Micah Knapp for calling this race with me as well, especially Micah. It was his first ever time calling with me. You guys did an excellent job, and I love calling races with you guys. And like I mentioned, we'll definitely do more in the future here in the Haas IndyCar series. And thank you. Thank you for watching. I already said that, but thank you again. We appreciate it, and we're happy you're here, and we're happy we can give you an exciting IndyCar race in Indianapolis on Memorial Day Sunday. Nicholas Sambadia, once again, an Indy 250 champion. How about that? Can't get away from this guy. Congratulations to Sambadia, your race winner for the 2020 Indianapolis 250. Our next race, like I mentioned, will be at Lime Rock next week. And on behalf of Micah Knapp and Trey Wright, here are the points for the Haas IndyCar Series after race number 1. Have a great Memorial Day, and I will see you guys later. Alright. Yeah, I know, squeaky door returns.
Yep.
Alright.
Center. Napa fan coming back into his room break is brought to you by WD-40, something that definitely needs to be applied to Napa fans' doors hinges.
Please include that.